In this episode, we explore London, baby.
I feel like Joey.
London, baby.
Welcome back to Kristen and Katie Reads. I'm Kristen.
I'm Katie.
And we like to
read.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Today, we are doing our immediate reactions to Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. We both finished it here in the last couple days.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So much to unpack. We are going to do another video later that's more of a deep dive where we recap the synopsis, everything that happens in the book, the themes, kind of explore those in a little bit more depth. But we wanted to do a quick initial reaction since we just finished it, and we've been talking, every time we see each other, we talk about our opinions, so we needed to get them out there.
Yeah, we have so many opinions about this book.
I want to start by prefacing, obviously, we love the Shadowhunter Chronicles so much, and this is still an unfinished series.
Right.
So it's hard to formulate like a finalized opinion on this because I'm going to need the third installment before I make my full opinion about this specific trilogy and the greater Shadowhunter Chronicles. Honestly, and I feel like the Wicked Powers I'm gonna need because I feel like so much of this book and the necromancy of it all is going to tie into our later novels.
Agreed. And it's very clear that this series was written with the intention to come out in tandem with the Dark Artifices.
Yes.
So that became more apparent in this book as well.
It's interesting because with the Infernal Devices in the second half, Infernal Devices came out in between the second half of the Mortal Instruments, right? 4, 5, and 6. So, and I thought those would be more closely related. I was like, oh, they're coming out every other because it's gonna be like, they're gonna tie together, and they didn't. Which is funny because now I really feel like these tie in with those other ones too. Like,
yeah,
the Malcolm Anna storyline is huge.
Annabelle.
Well,
just Anna's the real.
Oh gosh. That is crazy.
That is crazy.
I never really thought about that. So anyways, we're going to break through our initial reactions, our Goodreads ratings for now. Who knows?
For now.
Our 10 for rating, which, yikes, I'm still calling it that. What else?
And then predictions.
Okay. Katie, did you like this book?
What a loaded question. Yes, I did. Overall, I liked this book.
Okay.
Did you like this book?
I did. I found myself frustrated in certain parts, but overall, as soon as I closed it, I thought about it all day. The day I finished it, I've been thinking about it every night. I just want more. I want to know the conclusion. It felt like such a stereotypical sequel, like that Middlebridge book.
I agree, and I think that's what I found myself most frustrated with, that like this was so much filler to me.
Yeah.
That I enjoyed it. I enjoy filler, but it's just that like
I enjoyed that Philly. Didn't think I could bring it back, but I did.
But you did. There it is.
Go ahead. Sorry. Start your thought over.
I don't know what I'm saying.
I don't know. The filling.
The filling. Yes. So I just feel like I kind of knew where it was going the whole time, and I knew that our problems, it was obvious like 3/4 of the way through, they weren't going to be solved in this book. So it was just like, okay, so we're just waiting for book 3 to wrap up all of this.
And then I felt like so much of this book was supposed to be about who's the murderer, and like the twist that it's, again, this has spoilers in it, so turn back now if you have not read it. But that the murderer is someone possessing Jesse, to me, was like not that cool of a twist. It's like, that seems super obvious to me. All the other things, for a book that I found very predictable, there's still so many things I don't know, and like they gave you no breadcrumbs as to like where it's gonna go. Found it very predictable. That, I mean, how many times did we have to hint that Cordelia is attracted to Matthew? She's not acknowledging it, really, and Matthew is in love with Cordelia. Like, that's the whole book, just for us to finally get that confession in the last 5 pages.
And to be honest, I didn't even love the confession.
No.
Like, I just felt bad for him. Here he is, like, finally telling a girl that he loves her, and she's like, thanks, Matthew.
Yeah.
I'll still run away to Paris with you.
Yes, and that's what's
platonically.
I would love to see them in Paris together. I'm excited for those chapters. The way they get there, I don't like. Like, I think it'll be fabulous. I cannot wait to read those chapters.
Yeah, no, Matthew and Cordelia in Paris, I'm gonna be here for 100%. James having to go deal with Lucy's bullshit, not as interesting.
Not as interesting. That, the necromancy of it all with the Jesse and the Malcolm, is that somehow going to play a part into the later books? And then it just makes you think of his relationship with the Blackthorns and the Dark Artifices, and it's so weird.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Again, his part's just like so predictable, because we know what happens in the Dark Artifices. And like, it's just so painfully obvious. Like, every character who, I don't know, the hinting that they like each other, like Christopher obviously likes Grace, Grace likes Christopher. It's just like, all of it is so obvious.
And just not really much is coming of it in this book.
It's basically every relationship and person that we felt had feelings for the other one from the first one. It's just like retold to you again. That like, that Thomas likes Alistair. Alistair still likes Charles. Charles is a dick.
But it gets better in this book.
Gets better, but like still a dick.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, Grace likes Christopher. Christopher likes Grace. We just get another example.
I loved their scene.
I mean, it's cute, but it's like, okay.
Yeah, but that was it. It was like a snippet. Here,
the bracelet. Oh no. James doesn't actually like Grace. He's being controlled by this bracelet.
Motherfucking bracelet is ruining my life.
Oh my God.
I just can't stand that people who have known and loved James their whole life can't figure out why he acts so weird about Grace.
Right.
Like, at least with, going back to Clockwork, at least with like Jim and Will acted like that from the minute they all met him.
Yeah.
They didn't know that he was acting any other way except for that he was like different with Jim.
Yeah. It's very true.
People were
like, oh, James is suddenly acting
Grace
so weird
with James.
Wonder, I guess that's just how he is.
And then like for Matthew to be like, you're just being a real dick, man. And it's like,
I know,
well, I know that we all have our own things to go through in this book, but like, is no one concerned? No one's like, something must be wrong.
Right. I get it. It is a part 2 or sequel series to The Infernal Devices, which is the greatest love triangle ever written
Of all time.
So why was she like, okay, so I need to have kind of like the main characters need to have a love triangle again, but it's not really a love triangle. It's like,
right.
And it's so poorly done. It's just,
right.
I just don't understand. Like, clearly James is in love with Cordelia. Cordelia's in love with James. We don't know if she'll ever, like, I also hate when they do this in TV shows a lot, where he's like, of course I don't think of you the same way as Grace. And in my mind, I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, I guess that probably comes across like she's thinking I'm in love with Grace so much. It's like, really, we don't have 5 seconds to clarify.
Yeah.
It's all a big misunderstanding that could easily be explained, that it's hard for me to buy this. And then the door knocked, and then it was Grace, and then another misinterpretation. It's just like,
right.
Why aren't people talking?
That is honestly like what I think the theme of this book is: secrets.
Yes.
And the fact that our ensemble, that we have so many main characters, that it really is an ensemble book, and they're all keeping secrets from each other.
Yes.
And that's exhausting. I want to see them work together.
I hope that's what book 3 is more about.
Yeah.
And there's so much backstory. I'm excited not to reread about the bracelet, but to reread this book after reading the Shadowhunter or the Academy, like getting all of their background story that we get from the spin-off novels. I want to rereading the Infernal Devices, just getting the understanding, remembering the relationships between all the other characters that aren't Will, Jim, and Tessa, because honestly, that's all I focused on the first time I read it. So rereading more of like the other characters' parents' history, because that to me is still like, I'm like, oh yeah, they don't like each other, I don't think. I need to remember that more, and then rereading Chain of Gold, I think will help me understand. We've reread this series so many times. Like, I would say like we're pretty invested Shadowhunter readers. Like, I feel like this would be a hard series to read if someone just reads maybe just the Infernal Devices once or something.
Yeah.
This is there's so many characters.
There are so many. Let's talk about some of the characters.
Okay.
Who was the most annoying character to you in this book?
The bracelet? No, I don't know. That's so tough because I feel like with so many characters, it's like, why did, like, Anna and, Ariadne's storyline. It's like, oh, she wants her forgiveness and is trying to win Anna back. Anna doesn't want to forgive her. By the end, we see Anna clearly still loves her, puts her, protects her when the demon, jumps in front of her, but then is still not willing to forgive her by the end of the book. It's like, wow, that was almost 700 pages of that, but then they only got so much screen time, if you will.
Right.
So, of course, we can't progress it a really far away, but it's like, there's a whole book, and this storyline, in my opinion, could have been wrapped up in,
yeah,
that's every character, like, James being still in love with Grace, but not being in love with Grace, and all the misunderstandings with Cordelia. Like, that's the whole book.
Yeah.
It felt like every problem, we shouldn't have introduced them all at the same time to be unresolved. It's like, maybe we should have focused on a couple of them and had there be more resolution, and this could feel like more of a complete story. But it just feels like a bridge.
I agree. You didn't answer my question.
So who did I find the most annoying? Who did I find the most annoying? I don't know. Who did you find the most annoying?
Lucy Herondale.
Yeah.
100%. Hey, she's like only ever with Jesse. Okay, great. Jesse's fine. Whatever. He's dead. And I just like, I don't really love it whenever authors make their characters writers. They seem very annoying. She's a type 5. Sorry, type 5s out there. She's just not interesting. And for her to come from my favorite fictional character of all time, Will Herondale.
Yeah.
It's just a tough hang.
Yeah.
I just find her so annoying.
Okay, so I think I would say the most annoying character to me was James Herondale. And it's tough because a lot of it's not his fault. Like, he's being possessed by this bracelet.
Yeah.
But it's like, I still found what he was doing annoying.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of the possession or not. And then when it comes off, the fact that he doesn't immediately take care of it and tell Cordelia that he feels the need to, like, trap Grace first and make sure she's taken care of. I'm just like, bro, you had your window. I don't know.
The window is open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, who is your favorite character of this book?
Okay. I mean, I'm still saying Matthew. I just love how tortured he is. He has a real problem with, like, drinking that he's trying to overcome. He's haunted by his past. He's also just the most interesting. He's the funniest. He's the wittiest. When that dance scene where, like, him and that guy brush into each other, I'm like, oh, I want to read that history. Like, he just has all these relationships that I just love him.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like the way he tells Cordelia that he's in love with her.
Yeah.
I just still find him. I love the stag party that he organizes. Like, he's just.
Oh, yeah.
You never have a dull moment with Matthew.
No, I love Matthew.
Who is your favorite character?
My favorite character to read this book, well, I love Matthew Fairchild. I love him.
I already took him.
But, so I'll pick someone else. I really enjoyed learning more about Grace's upbringing. You know I ride for Grace. I don't know why. I just, like, really like her, and I just feel like she has a bigger part to play. Like, she's been a coward her whole life. Book 3, Cass is gonna let her shine and, like, do something big.
She's gonna get the redemption.
Right. That will have everyone be able to forgive her so that her and Christopher can be together and be happy and be a scientific couple that discovers things.
I love that. I love that a lot. It's tough because they do give her a reason. The reason that she entraps Matthew is to save her brother. She has a reason. Oh yeah, the reason that she traps I just think everyone should be trying to trap Matthew.
Take 3.
Okay. The reason that she traps James is for the reason of saving her brother. Although she knows it's terrible what she's doing. Like, to me, the reason justifies her bad behavior enough. Sometimes in books, it's not enough of a reason for me to buy into their actions. But with her, I'm like, it makes sense. She's also terrified of her mother. She has no other friend.
Like, she's literally been brainwashed.
Yes.
Like, she grew up alone with a ghost.
It makes me think of those stories where it'll be like, the child never was locked in the attic for 18 years. Like, those horrifying stories that you hear.
Yeah, it's like she was raised by a wolf in the woods, and then she came out and we expected her to be a normal person.
Right. And she's doing a good job.
She's doing a great job. I think she's really healing.
Yes.
There's some good healing in this book.
Yes. So I'm very curious about where it's gonna go. Let's discuss, where is the story going? Where do we think we're going?
So book 3 predictions.
Yes. So let's go, like, by where we leave, like, each character or grouping of characters. So Cordelia and Matthew off in Paris.
Love it.
Matthew's gonna struggle with drinking. Cordelia's gonna be upset with him.
But he said that he wouldn't drink while they were there.
But I think he'll still struggle with it. I think they'll hook up, kinda.
I think that they'll share their like first innocent kiss whenever James comes to get them.
I'm sure he'll see it. It'll be a whole thing.
Yeah.
And Cordelia will just read into it more like, oh, James is fine with this. He didn't even come after me because he's not in love with me. Like, the thing she's reading, like, I don't blame her. Like, he has done nothing to make it seem like he's not in love with Grace.
I don't blame her, but at the same time, this character trait is annoying to me. Just as, like, her as a person. Just that the fact that she didn't have enough confidence in herself to, like, march down the stairs and be like, James Arundel, what? Like, why are you...
But also she feels, I think she still has that I trapped him into the, like, I know she was like, this is the only option. And then she's like, maybe I did it subconsciously because I wanted him and, like, I trapped him. And I don't think it's the worst that she doubts herself because of the way their marriage came about. Even though he promised to stay away from her, I still feel like I would be like, well, he did tell me he loved her and, like, I just need to get out of here. It doesn't bother me. I've decided Team Cordelia.
I love Cordelia. She was just dumb in this book. Ugh, they were all dumb.
James is dumb. What are you doing? Like, she's in the house and you're gonna let Grace hug you? You're so focused on trapping her or catching her and getting the clave to, like, arrest her.
She couldn't just hang out? She couldn't just, like, go upstairs and be, like, sat up there?
No.
Ridiculous.
No, she had to get away.
No.
Okay, you know what does bother me about Cordelia in this book? Is, like, her dad dies and then, like, all she's focused on is that she loves James and that, like, she's worried about that she trapped him and he was in love with Grace and she barely cares about her dad.
And it was the sole focus. It was every freaking conversation that she had in the first book was about her dad.
Yeah. And then to not focus on it, like, I know she's mourning him but also feeling confused because he wasn't a great guy at the end. But I feel like Alistair's more intriguing feelings towards Alistair, or towards, what's her dad's name? Elias are more interesting.
Agreed.
It's like Cordelia steps out for like a second and then it's like, I don't know. I just don't think it was well written. I don't necessarily think the character would think about it. And it's a long book and there's so many characters, so I'm not saying that Cassandra Clare probably could not elaborate further on that. I'm sure it was just something where they were like, we can't dive into it. There's not enough time.
Speaking of Alistair, let's talk about Alistair and Thomas.
We leave them with Alistair basically being like, I still like Christopher. And our friends, your friends don't like me. Or not Christopher, Charles.
No, I don't think he likes Charles anymore.
He does still like Charles. You're joking.
Alistair doesn't want to be the bad thing that Thomas is doing in his life.
Yeah.
To, like,
it's like your friends
make himself feel like a bad person because he couldn't save Barbara.
Yeah.
Which I love. I feel like Alistair and Thomas actually have, like, real obstacles that are keeping them apart.
Yes.
Whereas for many of our characters, it's miscommunication.
Right, for sure. So that's where we leave them. Anna and Ariadne, how long is Anna gonna punish her?
I know. I was really hoping that they would resolve their stuff by the end of this book so we could just see them together in the next book.
We'll see. I mean, I think that ultimately they're gonna end up together.
Yes.
I can't see that going any other way, but we'll see.
Agreed.
Grace is in that room. So I'm assuming she'll leave because James is now running off with Will to go find Lucy.
Yeah, if Grace is being held by the clave.
But kind of isn't.
Yeah, I honestly, my only prediction for Grace next book, I don't know where she'll start out in the next book, but I have a feeling that she's going to make a sacrifice play, but then won't actually end up having to sacrifice herself.
And then her and Christopher will end up together, live happily ever after. That's a story I can get behind.
100%.
Here for it.
I love Christopher and Grace.
I like them too. Are there what other characters have we left out?
I want to see more of Eugenia. She was brought in for this book to look like a badass, and then, like, we got to see her get kind of closure or revenge on the guy that like didn't marry her.
I also feel like we're laying a little bit more groundwork with Magnus and Jem and the labyrinth and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that Tessa, maybe for stuff, I wonder if we'd get anything for, there's already stories that fill in the gap between, like, after all of these characters, like, pass away before we meet, like, Clary and all of them. Like, Jem, Magnus, and Tessa are alive in all of those periods of time. And I feel like, I don't know, that maybe there's something Warlocky that we're going to get that's going to tie in with Tessa and Magnus and Jem. Because Jem, although barely in this one, is still enough that I think we'll get some more storyline there.
So I think that's it. We talked about all the Merry Thieves, Alistair, Cordelia, Lucy. Oh, Jesse. Jesse's gonna come back.
Oh, right. Jesse and Lucy.
100%. He'll be
together,
back.
I guess.
And like, how weird that whenever they have kids, they'll have to be like, yeah, your dad was dead.
Yeah. I don't love that. I don't love it. Okay, let's discuss the next book's covers. So we've got swoosh hair this way, swoosh hair this way. And I'm seeing things on Twitter that make it seem like James is going to be on the cover of the next one. And I don't like it because it should have been either girl, boy, girl, or like long hair, short hair, long hair, or...
Yeah. The only reason that it works for the Infernal Devices is because it's Angel, Prince, Princess.
Yes.
Obviously, Tessa had to be on the very last book.
Well, and they were
doesn't make sense.
They were clearly the three main characters.
Right.
That made sense to me. With these, it's like Cordelia's a badass in this one, but it's also a lot about James. So like he could have been on the cover of this one. I mean, I like that it's Cordelia. I like everything that Cortana does in this one. With this one, I guess it's about Lucy bringing Jesse back. And so...
And, I mean, I just love this cover more.
Yeah, I like this one just so much more.
The bugs I don't love in this.
Don't love the bugs.
It's like harsher colors. I guess it's like we're getting darker. Like the book is a little bit darker.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would like to see is for
Grace.
Grace to be on the third one.
100%.
Red, brunette, blonde.
Well, and I feel like so much of it is about... Honestly, Grace could have been on the cover of this.
Grace really should have been on the cover of this
because of
one.
all of Grace's backstory. I mean, it almost does feel like Grace's story because of all the backstory, but I feel like she's laying that foundation for the next one. This one ultimately is about Lucy bringing Jesse back and necromancy, so ultimately, I would pick her for this book. But I would pick Grace for the next one and do even more Grace stories.
Yeah, Grace, she has such a bigger part to play. She's a good person that we've seen basically just be bad. So, like...
It's just really interesting because these books, before they came out, I thought they were going to be about the Merry Thieves. And then it's like... It's Cordelia, Cordelia, then Lucy, and then then Grace. I just feel like we're either going to do the girls that are not the Merry Thieves, or it should be all the Merry Thieves or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I just think it should be Grace. I think it should be Grace. That's it.
Wish they just did more characters instead of one on the cover, is what I really wish. I don't know. They're just not... If I didn't already read these books, this is not a cover that I would be like... It's just not my normal aesthetic.
No. I agree.
Okay, so Katie, what would your ratings be for Chain of Iron?
I need you to know that I gave this book a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. For how much I have to say about it.
I know.
I still was like, did I enjoy being back in this world? Absolutely.
Yes.
Did I enjoy furthering all of these people's plots? Absolutely. That's a 5 out of 5 for me. I just can't, like, it's so hard for me. I mean, it would have been a 4.5 or something. Right. But I rounded up.
Yeah, I would say a 9 out of 10 on the 10 scale. But I give it a 5 out of 5, and I think so much of it will be dependent upon what happens in the next book too. Because again, you're right, I loved being back in this world. I thought the ruin stealing was really cool.
I agree.
And the reason for taking the ruins, not cool. I was like, darn, I kind of wish it was like, I was thinking for a second it was a person like from Infernal Devices, like how he was knew about the Shadow World and wanted to have the power but couldn't. I was like, maybe it's a human. Yeah. Again, I don't know.
I do like that in all of the series, it seems like the villain is having to come up with hybrids.
Yes.
To defeat the Shadowhunters. Like, Sebastian was half angel, half demon, and this killer was meant to be like a Prince of Hell and a Shadowhunter.
Yeah. I really like the Prince of Hell stuff. I love the greater demon of it all. I imagine Belial or whatever as like Crowley from Supernatural.
Yes.
Like wearing a baller suit and stuff. Love the greater demon stuff.
I do too. And I like that one of the characters, I think it's Cordelia, brought up like, why can't we see angels but we can see demons?
And they also talk about angels a lot in this one. A lot. So I also think for the next one, it's like that's something to be excited about.
Yes.
I think that's going to play a really big part.
And if it doesn't play a big part in this series, I think it will in the Wicked Powers.
Yeah.
Since it's the finale.
Yes. So I'm excited for book 3 because I really feel like we're going to have to finally get the answers for what about the family tree that we originally got did she retract and change? Like to finally know the full lineage of everybody and who ends up with who, because I think there's going to be some really cool twists that she's holding out on.
I agree, but I'm very worried about some of our loves that weren't on the family tree.
Yes.
Or you know, Anna in the original family tree is never married.
I don't think she will get married. I think she'll just be with Ariadne.
Right. So like, but it leaves it open. Like, what if Ariadne doesn't make it? What if they aren't? You know, like it's
so
just
true.
People that were left out, or like not married, or Matthew is married to a mystery person with a kid on the family tree. So it's just like there's still a lot of mystery, and like I've fallen in love with these characters that I don't know their ending.
Yeah. Also, no matter what, like Matthew's gonna be sad because he's in love with Cordelia, and his best friend, either his best friend is ending up with Cordelia, or he's ending up with Cordelia and then his best friend's unhappy. You know what I mean? It's just like it's left in this way. There's not gonna be a Jim Will ending where she gets both of them. It's not gonna happen.
No.
So I'm just worried that somebody's gonna be left unhappy.
I agree.
So
protect Matthew at all costs.
I know, but I mean, again, I liked it. I spend so much time thinking about Shadowhunter books and things that every time there's a first reading of one of the stories, it's so jarring because it's like finally all these questions and directions of where I think it might be going are put like concrete, like, no, this is the path the book's taking. That it's a little jarring and hard for me, and I'm always a little like reluctant to accept it. But I think rereading all of the other ones and then rereading this again, I'm curious to know like how my opinion will change. If I'll like it more, knowing what's coming, I'll pick up on more clues since I know the ending, you know, everything like that. Until next time, stay incest free.
Bye.